Zakiyah Ansari has been one of the leading parent advocates in the city of New York. Besides the fact that she's a mother of 8, and I don't know how she finds the time to do this, she has been on the front lines of so many battles, from basic funding to fairness to parents' voice. And she now holds a position inside of the Alliance for Quality Education. But I can tell you from my own personal work that parents like Zakiyah make me so proud that in our contract we now have 2 provisions that require parent sign-off. Because when we were in our battles, it was Zakiyah and the parents of New York City who stood side by side with us. And the least we could do is say, you should be part of how we're moving our schools forward, and we were proud to put those provisions in our contract. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you one of the fiercest advocates you will ever meet anywhere, Miss Zakiyah Ansari.
Ooh, that was a nice intro. Hi, everyone. How are you? Oh, I like that reverb. So let me say thank you to the AFT, Randy, Michael, for that amazing introduction. I'll remember that. And also to my dear friend, Eric Zachary, who doesn't like accolades, but 3,000 people, this is your opportunity. I also want to say thank you to all the educators, the health professionals, and everyone who goes into school every day and fights this battle for our children. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Often wonder how, if anybody's heard me speak before, I always talk about my journey in this space. So to be here today is another reason for me to talk about this journey. I don't know how I got here, but I'm excited to be here. So 12 years under Mayor Bloomberg. As Michael said, I have 8 children. I also now have 3 grandchildren, which I didn't have when I started this struggle and started this fight. So it just shows the evolution, but more importantly, the sustainability and the commitment that parents, community members, and others, we just stay in it. We're lifers in this. Once we begin to organize, once we get the fight and the battle, we're in this for life. And that, this is what I do now. 162 schools closed in New York City, a systemic attempt to silence parents and a blatant disrespect for those parents under Bloomberg, the favoritism of charters, expansion at the expense of our public schools, and the blatant and public disrespect of our teachers and educators. 12 years. 12 years. And when he left, only 12% of Black and Latino children were graduating college and career ready. 12%. Yet what he spoke about was that his legacy was of excellence and success. I don't know how many people would call that success. Do we believe that public education is under attack? Yes. Do we believe that? Yes. I absolutely do as well. But November 2014, right? You have 12 years or something like that. There was this, November 2013, I'm getting ahead of myself. There was this transformation where parents, community members, everyone came together. We had someone who ran on fairness and equity. Fairness and equity, we hadn't heard that in 12 years. Talked about how he was going to provide pre-K for all our babies, our 4-year-olds, quality pre-K, right? Talked about how community schools, 100 of those he wanted to have in his first term. All these great things, after-school programs for our middle schools so that children wouldn't be left on the streets when our parents were working 2 and 3 jobs. Was it too good to believe? It wasn't. So we voted him in, Mayor Bill de Blasio, who you saw there, excited, overwhelmingly. Every chart, rich, poor, black, white, overwhelmingly voted him into office because he ran on fairness and equity. We have an opportunity to change the tide, but what I know is what I don't want this to be, another 2008 Obama moment, right? Where we get just comfortable and settled in our space. And we say, all right, we got him in there, he's already committed to doing these things, and we lay back. No, the organizing continues, right? Because we also know that there are people out there, the so-called quote-unquote, big quote-unquote reformers, right, who say they want to really push public education in the right direction, who are looking to see him fail. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. We can't let up. We have to stay involved. We have to stay engaged. We must continue to push at the same time support. But just like any other relationship, right? Imagine being in a 12-year relationship with somebody and all you faced was abuse. It's kind of hard once you find that new person, male, female, to change your thinking that this person could be different. And for the last 6 months, I think New York City has been going through that metamorphosis. It's been kind of psychotic. I don't know if I should rally on the steps like we used to do, or should I sit at the table? Right? And it's really been hard if you think about it in relationship terms, right? Is this person really good for what we want? Are they really committed? But I think on all levels he has begun that process. Whether it was fighting in Albany to ensure that we got the funding, which many of us parents, educators, labor, youth went up to Albany and helped to fight for that struggle, to ensure that now we are now putting forth applications so we have middle school, quality after-school programs for all our middle schoolers. So our parents, when they go to work, they will have spaces to leave, safe spaces to leave their children, right? Or our children, our babies, our most vulnerable, our 4-year-olds, have access to high-quality pre-K programs. He's starting to fulfill, or beginning to fulfill that. What I know is that it's not enough to be cosmetic. We need this to work. We need this to work. We need all that pre-K funding and all the commitments to be successful at the end of the day, for a whole host of reasons. The number one being that our children can't wait anymore. They can't wait. The second reason, the nation is watching. And this is our opportunity that we must seize. This is our opportunity that all this funding, hundreds of millions of dollars that are coming in, will we see this money again? No. We need to make sure that this works. It's not enough to just say we're going to do it. But I can't leave the stage without acknowledging something. I was just in the last panel for lunch. That race and classism plays a major role in what we're seeing around this country, including the attack on public education. And until we're ready to sit in, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you feel, for however long we need to sit in that and have that conversation, we have to do it, or else we will continue to spin the same wheels over and over again. And guess what? Our children don't get back yesterday. They don't get back 5th grade. They don't get back 10th grade. We can't continue to spin this wheel and act like it's not there. We don't live in a post-racial society. I think we all agree with that. Well, most of us do. I think in this room, most of us do. So when we hear people say that, we have to challenge them on that. If we do, then why is it okay in Philadelphia for there to not be nurses and for our children to be dying, and have a mayor who kind of just shuns that off and say, oh, it's not cuts? If we do, then how is it that water in Detroit can be denied to people, parents, students, children, and no one is saying anything about that? If we do, how can we as a nation close 1,200 schools in this country over the last 14 years? Those schools had children in them. I dare to say they mostly had predominantly black and brown children in them. Once you lose a school in a community, you dismantle, you sabotage the community that it is in. We live in a society that would rather pay for prisons than pay for equitable education for children. No arts and music in schools. That's not the society we want to live in. So I'll close with this and just say, labor, all labor, parents, youth, I'm sorry, let me say it again, youth, our young people, our educators, everyone. This is our moment. If we let it slide, if we refuse to deal with race and class, if we continue to not stand up as a united front, and as Hiram from Philly said, only come out when certain things are happening. When you come to us as community and you only want us for one thing, then we feel like we're being used. But when we work together collaboratively, like we're seeing what's happening in Philly and in New York City and other places around this country, we can move mountains. We can make a difference for our children. We must make a difference for our children. We must stand united, because those who are fighting against us, Those who are fighting against us have unlimited resources, but there is power in numbers. We have the numbers here. We have right on our side. We have a moral obligation. And I challenge everyone in this room to dig deep, to turn that mirror to themselves and look at it and be honest, because it's the only way we're going to move out of this. Be honest with yourself. If we believe public education is under attack, how far, how deep, how committed, how willing are we to go as far as we need to ensure that we are reclaiming our schools, reclaiming the promise, reclaiming our language and everything else. We can no longer sit by and allow those out there, billionaires, the 1%ers, or anybody else, say that this is a civil rights issue when we know. We must challenge them on it every term and say, how dare you? So whose schools? Whose schools? Whose schools? Thank you.